My introduction to Spriggan, as I'm sure it was the case with many others, was a 1998 anime film. It was directed by Hirotsugu Kawasaki under the supervision of Katsuhiro Otomo. The screenplay is by Kawasaki and Yasutaka Ito, based on the manga by Hiroshi Takashige, who did the writing, and Ryoji Minagawa, who did the art. It was animated at Studio 4 degrees Celsius. I've always called it Studio 4 degrees because that's just easier for me to do. The studio also worked on Memories, Mind Game, Berserk the Golden Age arc, Children of the Sea, and others. Wait a minute, getting back on track. The film adapts the Noah's Ark chapter of the manga, which is what the Netflix series also did. Oh, yeah, there's a Netflix series. It was released in 2022, and it was done at an animation studio called David Production. I never even heard of that studio until I looked it up. It adapts 6 chapters from the manga: Flame Serpent, Noah's Ark, Forest of No Return, Berserker, Crystal Skull, and The Forgotten Kingdom. Yes, you heard me correctly. Spriggan did a story involving the Crystal Skull. The manga, which ran from 1989 to 1996 in its original run, did that story long before that shitty Indiana Jones movie, and, in my personal opinion, did it much better. This video is really only going to be looking at the 2 adaptations of the Noah's Ark chapter, as well as looking at some other aspects of the manga that the film took from where applicable. I'm not really going to look at the rest of the Netflix series because there's just not much to talk about. The Netflix series adapts the manga chapters very faithfully, and apart from some really minor things here and there, there's not much to discuss about it. However, in due time, I will give my thoughts on the Netflix series collectively. Both versions begin with researchers exploring a cavern. In the film, they find a portion of the Ark and are killed by it. The satellite over the Earth examining it is destroyed too. In the Netflix series, they find it without a whole lot of fanfare. Oh, I do need to give some background. The titular Spriggan, Ominai Yu, is part of an organization called Arkham, which works to prevent supernatural artifacts from falling into the wrong hands and causing hell. In the manga and Netflix series, these artifacts are called oparts, which means out-of-place artifact, a relic out of the time from which it was made. There is no mention of this term in the film. Various organizations and the countries which they belong to, from the US, UK, Russia, and others, all fight for control for these oparts, including the subject of today's comparison, Noah's Ark. In both versions, Ominai Yu wakes up after falling asleep in class. In the Netflix series, it's played for more comedic effect.
I said wake up!
I can't believe you finally came back to school just to sleep your way through class.
I was up all night with,
All night with what?
a game! I stayed up all night playing a video game, okay?
In the film, he wakes up from a nightmare where he is killed on a mission.
First you miss weeks at school, and now you fall asleep in class. What's going on?
Nothing.
But in the film, this situation is far more serious. His friends and acquaintances at the school are getting picked off one by one, which leads to a briefing in Yamamoto's office. Yamamoto being Yu's boss at Arkham. He is told that the Ark was found, and that other sites relating to the Ark, Arkham units are being slaughtered for the key to control it.
This photo was sent to us after an attack 3 weeks ago.
Why in the hell didn't you tell me about it?
Because it's obviously bait for some kind of trap, and I knew exactly how you'd react to it.
Yu, being furious and wanting revenge, goes on the mission despite the objections of Yamamoto. In the Netflix series, Yu is briefed about the whole thing on the flight there and shows up at the Ark site without any trouble. In the film, his flight is redirected to Istanbul after permission to land at the Ark site has been withdrawn. He gets his weapons confiscated and is later chased through the city by bad guys wanting to kill him. The chase through the city is really awesome. It establishes the general setting of the area and sets up the stakes better than the Netflix series. Even the following montage of Yu heading to Mount Ararat, which is where Noah's Ark was suspected to be for a long time, does a good job of setting up the atmosphere. It sets up that the Ark is so secret and under such heavy guard that Yu even has trouble getting to it and getting in. He is helped out by the lead researchers, Dr. Maisel and Miss Margaret. In the film, he gets all of his gear for the first time, such as his Ori Helcom battlesuit and knife. He has all that stuff already in the Netflix and in the manga by the time he gets there. The next battle in the snow between Arkham and units from the Pentagon really showcases why I love the movie so much and the Netflix series so little. The Netflix series may be more faithful to the manga than the film, but the film has some real artistry and passion behind it. For the most part, it was done in the traditional ink and paint animation that fans of old school anime, such as myself, crave, all put together by craftsmen at the top of their game. Allow me to illustrate this further. Let's look at both, starting with the Netflix version.
All you had to do was quietly leave Noah to us, and no one would have died. Our Cam is so naive. He's here. You, Omenaye. Try me. We aren't weaklings like Hummingbird.
Now let's look at the film.
I hate to cut and run, but you aren't worth my time. Oh, you.
You're not going anywhere, you little traitor.
Ah, what the hell, I think it's a good time to say this. The Netflix series overall just isn't good. At best, it's middling and just a bore, and at worst, it's awful. It was something to pump out content for streaming services. It was made very quickly and at minimal expense. The action is slow, lacks a visceral punch, having no real teeth despite the amount of bloodshed in it, and the English dub for it is very annoying. And yes, I do know that the Japanese version is much better, like it is in most anime. It was animated using computers, and that's where it really falls short of the movie. Now let me be clear, digital animation isn't necessarily a problem. There's been plenty of good anime made nowadays that mostly use computers, and those still deliver engaging stories with appropriate atmosphere. The craftsmanship can still carry through in the work. In the Spriggan Netflix adaptation of Noah's Ark, the battle here feels incredibly half-assed. It feels like an animatic that gives an idea of how it should play out before it enters into full animation, where all the cool shit can be added, such as in the movie. Hell, the manga was more exciting and had more of a visceral kick than the Netflix series. Plus, there's plenty of times in this episode, as well as in others, where I'm just taking a look at some of the animation and I'm just like, oh, this looks ugly. I mean, it's nice that the Netflix version adapts the manga chapters faithfully, but the execution is so bland. There's no real character or flair. It looks like every other middling generic anime I see clogging streaming services. Worst of all, for all the action it has, it just isn't badass. Oh, wait a minute, one more thing, and this is actually arguably the worst thing about it. The Netflix series is so middling that it isn't even worth talking about in depth. It goes through one eyeball and out the other. In the film, Fat Man here was Omenayu's commander in his old days at Project Cosmos, which I'll get to later. And dealing with Little Boy, yes, these two characters are named after the atomic bombs that were dropped on Japan, he is primarily defeated by Jean-Jacques Mond, a French Spriggan.
Where's Dr. Maisel?
Why don't you pick on someone your own age? You miss.
After easily taking care of Little Boy, well, at this time anyway, he also helps get Omenai under control after he goes berserk taking care of Fat Man.
If I'd known you were going to die so easily, I'd have taken more time torturing your friends.
Enough is enough. It's over. He's dead.
The problem with Jean in the Netflix version is that in the English dub, they couldn't be bothered to make him sound even remotely French. Even the ADV dub of the movie tried that.
A second-rate performance, as usual. Who the hell are you? The name is Jacquemont to you. Spriggan Jean Jacquemont, to be precise.
Both versions have Jean tell Omenai that he's too soft. In the film, it is after the battle, and he tells him about it in a calm manner.
What did you come here for? Was it vengeance? By coming to this place, you were doing exactly what they were hoping you would do. You let your heart rule you. If you fail in your duties, you endanger the life of every man, woman, and child on the face of this planet.
In the Netflix series, this comes about after Omenai tries to spare Fat Man for questioning, but Jean goes ahead and kills him. This happens in the manga as well, but I like how it was handled in the movie better.
That That's enough, you idiot! There's no fight left in him!
Are you thinking of showing mercy to the enemy?
But we're not murderers. We're better than them. And if...
Honestly, Omanaya, you're so soft it makes me sick. When you are a Spriggan, you guard Arkham as well as all the artifacts. To guard it, we have to be the most powerful as well as the most feared.
The introductions to Colonel McDougal are interesting. One is menacing and somewhat mysterious and shows that even he has his limits. When his handler, shall we say, has to administer medicine to manage his cybernetically enhanced psychic powers. And the other shows no real menace or mystery. For the English dub in the film, McDougal actually sounds like a kid.
Little Boy and Fat Man have failed in their mission. What if Arkham figures out how to get into the Ark?
It wouldn't matter at all. We are the only ones with the key to unlocking Noah. I'm confident enough to kill anyone who gets in my way, and that includes you if you don't follow my orders.
And in the Netflix series,
Even if Arkham has the key, they certainly won't have ascertained how to use it. Only with my power and the ancient writings of Noah can one enter the Ark. With Noah, I have been given the chance to commune with the true God. I will kill anyone who dares get in my way. All you need to do is listen to me and do whatever it is I tell you.
Hi, is this Johnny's Steakhouse? I'd like a table for two at 8 o'clock. Sure, no problem. I'll hold.
What the hell are you doing?
Just making dinner reservations.
Not that. The voice.
I'm trying my American.
Certainly trying this American.
yeah, not good. After being shown around the Ark in both versions, with the movie version showing far more imagination, which I'll expound upon later, McDougal shows up to raise hell. The first confrontation between Ominai and McDougal has more weight in the film, but in the Netflix series, it's also meh.
Lay down your weapons and surrender. There will be no resistance. We are taking control of the Noah Project and the Ark.
I don't think so, kid.
I'm not dead yet.
You're only the second person to ever survive my psychic attack. You Spriggans must be as tough as cockroaches.
Who the hell are you? I don't know what you want with the Ark, but I've got no interest in giving it to you.
I suppose there's nothing else I can do then.
Who's saying that I'm dead?
It must be tough to have survived my psychokinesis. Almost like some kind of cockroach.
To illustrate McDougal's menace further, before taking Dr. Maisel and Miss Margaret to the Ark to open it, McDougal kills his handler, after the guy got pissed when McDougal destroys the data on the computers. The lack of all this just makes the Netflix version of McDougal feel so impotent by comparison. Things look bleak for Ominai and the others. In both versions, Little Boy was initially taken prisoner, but was set free, and now looks to kill Ominai. But Jean shows up to kick some ass. A major difference here between the film and the Netflix and manga versions is that in the Netflix and manga versions, Jean is a werewolf, and after he gets shot, he transforms and turns all of his enemies into paste, including Little Boy. In the film, he just arrives with a whole assortment of weapons, including an RPG.
Hold it! That's far enough, Spriggan. You would never risk killing your friend.
I don't bluff, mon ami.
And he even chases Little Boy down the slopes, where Little Boy is eventually blown up. Again, this is a case where I like it better in the film. Since I never read the manga first, I just assumed Jean was just as badass as Ominai or any other Spriggan, with or without werewolf powers. I just think Jean is cooler as just a walking, talking slaughterhouse. The part where McDougal and the doctors go into the Ark to activate it plays out a bit differently. In the Netflix series, McDougal just brings it to life by putting the key on this cube. It activates and we see a screensaver of the Earth in the background. Pfft, lame. The film, however, shows more effort on the part of Dr. Maisel and Miss Margaret to bring it to life. When it is activated, there's some imagination to it with floating images akin to clockwork moving in the background, and floating flashing images when things happen around the world or around the Ark. Even the design of the Ark itself, when we see it at the end of the film, is actually really cool. Made of a material pretty much unknown to man.
The Bible has it as 300 cubits long and 50 cubits wide, but as it turns out, it's almost exactly 4 times that size. It's not made of wood either. We've tried lasers, diamond drills. So far, nothing we have can even scratch its surface.
Whereas in the Netflix series and in the manga, it is made of wood, but it's in a timeless stasis. It's in a timeless stasis in the film too. The film even shows that just entering the Ark is perilous and it takes guts to even try and navigate it. It gives it all an otherworldly feel. I just think the Ark in the film works better for a vessel that also creates life and controls the weather, which is what McDougal wants to use it for. He, as the cliche goes, believed he was sent by God to wipe humanity off the planet and to create new life. Dr. Maisel refuses to join him in his endeavors in both versions, and McDougal activates the Ark, triggering a global warming setting that will flood the Earth and kill all humanity. But the Netflix series portrays it as, oh no, it's activated. Well, whatever. There's only 10 minutes left in this episode. It'll get resolved quickly. Whereas in the film, all hell breaks loose.
Why wait 40 days and nights when you have tidal wave?
Ominai does show up to fight McDougal. He goes into the Ark alone in the film, but in the Netflix and manga version, Jean goes with him. Well, he accompanies him long enough to get Maisel and Margaret out. This leaves Ominai to fight McDougal all by himself. This of course results in Ominai getting the shit kicked out of him, while talking to him about being wrong about wanting to wipe out mankind and all that jazz. Both versions have McDougal losing control and being in great pain as he overuses his power. Again, in the film that was foreshadowed not once, but twice, with his meds being administered to him by his handler, and Dr. Maisel talking to him on the trip to the Ark.
You have a psionic amplifier implanted in your head. Stress it too hard and you'll die of instant brain death.
Whereas in the Netflix series, this is the first time we see it or know anything of it. McDougal, I guess through the Ark's power, gets a peek into Ominai's past. This portion was taken from the manga chapter Dragon Vein Map, Ominai U Extermination Plan. Ominai's parents were part of an Arkham excavation team, which was wiped out by American Special Forces units looking to control the ruins there, leaving Ominai an orphan. He was taken into a program called Project Cosmos and was conditioned to become the perfect killer, taking orders without question and exterminating all enemies. During one mission, Yu killed a couple, and this snapped him out of his conditioning, as the couple reminded him of his dead parents. He went berserk and killed his entire unit, including his superiors. In the film, Fat Man was his old commander in Cosmos, and the damage he took from Ominai here is what put him in his cybernetic body. In the manga, his commander was somebody else. After another back and forth between the two, Ominai finally defeats McDougal, and I hate to sound like a broken record here, but it looks cooler in the movie. Ominai in both versions shows compassion towards McDougal,
because good is dumb.
But McDougal breaks free and activates the Ark to self-destruct. The Netflix version makes a really stupid change. This one sends him out all sad and pathetic.
If the Ark is gone, then I have no reason to exist. Goodbye. Charge ahead through this screwed up world with all of your strength!
Whereas in the film and in the manga, he goes out like a maniac.
The fight isn't over yet! It's just begun!
Jan carries Ominai out of the Ark in all versions, admitting that he admires the kind side to Ominai. Now, the destruction of the Ark in both the manga and the Netflix version is really disappointing. In both of those, the structure just falls apart into a pile of wood when the time stasis collapses. In the film, it gets sucked into what looks like a dimensional distortion. That looks cooler. In any case, the self-destruct sequence that McDougal activated backfired because once the time stasis went away, the Ark collapsed. Anyway, all versions end with our heroes being victorious. End credits. I don't know what else to say about the Netflix version. It's a real disappointment. I suppose you could check it out if you're really curious, but I don't recommend it at all. As for the film, I wish to make it clear that this is no anime masterpiece, but it certainly is when compared to the Netflix version. The story is by the numbers and cliched. Anybody who has seen any movie ever will be able to figure out what happens before it happens. The dialogue isn't the best, and in some ways, as best as I can put it, it's like an 80s action movie in animated form, but that's what makes it work. You watch it for the action rendered beautifully by high-quality old-school Japanese animation. It's not a great or even a brilliant film, but it's a hell of a lot of fun, and I love it for that. Give this one at least one viewing if you haven't seen it yet, and decide for yourself.